Before we start recording, if you can turn off the recording thing. I know they're all not here and there are different people here, but yesterday when we were talking about the inner offering and the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, there's a few of you who are here. Somebody should write this down and tell everybody else. Because I got tired, I forgot to put the whole thing together because in the inner offering, you remember when we had the animals and the elements and the nectars, the meats and the nectars? Those are actually also the 5 Dhyani Buddhas and their consorts. So that's why you needed the explanation of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, because each one of those, there's 5 of the 5 and 5. So the animals all correspond to one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. And the nectars correspond to the consorts. And so that's like, because remember we're purifying the elements and the delusions. So the elements are the consorts, and the delusions and the aggregates are the male ones. And so basically, you know, when you're boiling it and transforming it, you're transforming the delusions and the aggregates and the elements into those 5 wisdoms. So that's why you need to know all that stuff. But I got kind of tired at the end and never put the whole thing together. So that's how you put the whole thing together. And you can figure it out according to the Kala Chakra system, which one's which, right? Okay, now we can, it's okay that the people here, they don't know what we're talking about. Okay. Well, I hope you all had a good sleep. And so this is the group that is interested in doing Nundro, is that correct? Yes. Okay. Well, first off is our motivation, isn't it? So I wonder, do we do the teaching prayers? You know, the Heart Sutra and all that stuff, or is this just a practice day? I think it's a practice day. I don't think we need to do the teaching prayers. I think that's my sense. So, okay. Yeah, it's all in the thing. Yeah. So, so why don't we just start by sitting for 10 minutes, and just all kind of coming here. I just want everybody to sort of get grounded and be here, you know. Pretty flowers. So remember to start by becoming present of your body and the breathing, and go through the body scan. I start from the feet and go up, but some people start from the top and go down. So what works right for you. And remember putting space in the joints and the spine, allowing the breath to fill you up and make you feel larger on the inside, bringing in light and space and joy and love with the inhale. And exhaling, every time you exhale, you let go just a little bit and feel more present and relaxed. use your breath to adjust your posture. Become aware of your feelings. If you're feeling agitated or nasty, don't do anything to it, just pay attention to it. Breathe into it with some love. Remembering your inner Buddha nature, your inner goodness. If you're feeling particularly tight anywhere, then allow your attention, your breath, to open up the tight areas. If you're having thoughts, you're kind of obsessing about something, then try to drop the story and just feel the energy that's producing that thought, and then breathe into that and kind of touch it with your mindfulness of care and concern. Don't really try to change it, just be aware of it. Just find where it is in the body, and then as you breathe into it, just allow it to go where it needs to go, and try to, try is not a good word, but kind of focus the attention on lightening up the tension there. Give yourself permission to be peaceful and relaxed, open, kind. we're just paying attention to the breathing, paying attention to the hollow body, and generating a feeling of kind of kind, loving care and letting go. Touching the energy that's contracted, not trying to change it, just accepting. And as you breathe into it, you can experience a release. take a moment to think about why you're here, why you're attracted to the idea of enlightenment, and why you need a guru. Because we have so much compassion sometimes, it hurts. Or maybe we have no compassion at all, and we don't want to have a heart like stone anymore. We want to feel something. Maybe we're so shut off from our feelings because there's so much pain in there, we can't really touch it. It's so painful. Or maybe the situation in our life is just unbearably frustrating. There's nothing we can do about it. Maybe one of our loved ones is suffering. There's nothing we can do about it. Maybe we're just always depressed. Or maybe we just always can never feel satisfied. Or maybe we're just always full of resentment. There's a reason why we're here. Either we're not satisfied with the life the way it is, or we've had a taste of something better, maybe both. There's some ideal, some concept of something better, and we want it. Not only do we want it, but we need it. Some of us, maybe it's just we want peace of mind. But maybe some of us also really want to do something about the suffering in the world, besides our own suffering. But whatever it is, there's a yearning for a change, for a yearning for acceptance even, a yearning to let go, a yearning for love. A yearning for blessings. Maybe it's a yearning for connectedness and we don't find it in the community or perhaps in the religion where we grew up, but we know there's something bigger than ourselves with which we can connect that makes us feel wholesome and whole, and something more than just this material world. So maybe some of us have had that experience of release and peace and hope for something better in life or beyond this life by being in the presence of a holy master. Holy in the sense of that they are whole people, whole beings, not brought down by delusion and grasping and these things. So we have a yearning for that experience, a yearning to be connected to that experience that is embodied in that being, in that person. And that yearning is the act of taking refuge. Lama, please be with me. Lama, please come. Lama, please think of me. Lama, please bless me to have no more need in my mind. Lama, please bless me to never forget death and impermanence, that I could die today, so that I pay attention to how I treat my loved ones and how I treat myself, and how I treat my mindfulness. Lama, please help me be liberated from samsara. Lama, please bless me. I really want to abandon seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, being happy when I have things, sad when I lose things. Not just things, but people. Please bless me to let go when people blame me and realize it's just karma. When people say nice things about me, please, Lama, bless me not to be puffed up with pride. But mostly, Lama, please be with me. Please be in my heart. And let me feel the cool waters of your loving liberation. The unburdened ego. Please bless me to let go of that I that appears to exist from its own side, that causes so much suffering, the constriction, the tightness, the constricted experience of me. Bless me to loosen that, open up the knots, and understand that there's just a mind that has awareness, a mind that remembers, a mind that records experiences, so that the experiences pile up and becomes like a truly existent person, I, that has had all those experiences. Bless me to understand that it's moment, fleeting by fleeting experience, that although there appears to be a truly existent person based on all those experiences, if I look, if I try to find that truly existent person, there's nothing but thoughts. If I try to find a truly existent feeling or thought, it disappears. Please, Lama. Sometimes I'm so selfish, I don't know it. I'm insensitive to others. Please, I'd like to be aware of all around me, the people's feelings, not to ignorantly causing harm. I need to slow down, make time to remember, it's just mere appearances. No need to freak out. Please, Lama, bless me. Please come and be with me today, with us today, so that this Nundra practice is very sincere. You've given me this job. I've asked for this job. I want to attain enlightenment. But now I have work to do. It's not easy. Please, Lama, help me to stay inspired, to inspire myself. To slow down, remember. Remember the suffering of myself, the suffering of others, and that really my main job here is to avoid causing more of that. And create the cause to purify what's already been there. Because really my job is to bring joy and light to the world. How can I do that if I forget that my nature is joy and light? Please, through these Nundra practices, may I uncover all these false conceptions about my true nature. Please bless me to remember that everyone around me has feelings too, to be sensitive to that. And to never give up, to wake up every day inspired with inspiration coming from you, my precious Guru. May I always remember your qualities, and may I always aspire to be like you. My personality may be different, but the basic qualities of a Buddha are there in you, and I want them too. Not just me, but all sentient beings. So Lama, please bless me now in this very session, on this cushion, this morning, this day, on this powerful weekend. I want refuge. I want to be safe. I want to be out of samsara. Dan, you want to read in Spanish the visualization? And you just listen. Until you get to the refuge part. Just read all this. Just read all that, yeah? And the rest of you just listen and do the visualization.
Solo escuchen. Solo escuchen. En el espacio frente a mí, al nivel de la vista, se encuentra un trono, ambos excelsos y gloriosos, construido de todas las piedras preciosas. Arriba y abajo lo protegen leones, 2 en cada esquina, alta y baja. Encima hay un asiento mandala de loto completamente florecido, luna y sol. Sentado sobre él se encuentra mi sagrado lama raíz, quien es siempre afable y bondadoso. Su apariencia externa es la de Buda Shakyamuni. Su cuerpo tiene la tonalidad del oro refinado y pulido, con la unisha como corona, una cara y 2 brazos. Su mano derecha se dirige hacia la tierra y su izquierda hacia la falda, tranquilamente sosteniendo una escudilla de mendigo que está llena con todos los néctares. Adornado con todas las 112 marcas de un Buda, está vestido con túnicas de un monje color azafrán. Sus piernas están ambas cruzadas en posición Vajra y los rodea una nube brillante de rayos de luz clara. Sentados a su alrededor están todos mis gurús y los del linaje, y también mis yidans, budas, bodhisattvas, dakas, dakinis y protectores del Dharma. Están sentados a su alrededor también. Los volúmenes de sus enseñanzas están colocados frente a él, sobre cojines preciosos que brillan con clara luz. Todos los miembros de esta asamblea poderosa están sonriendo y complacidos de que estoy aquí sentado haciendo la puya. Recordando su bondad y calificaciones, me coloco en un estado firme de gran fe. Yo y todos los seres sintientes madres, desde el renacimiento sin principios hasta el momento presente, hemos experimentado completamente los muchos sufrimientos del samsara en general y específicamente los sufrimientos de los 3 estados inferiores. Sin embargo, aún no es fácil entender completamente la profundidad y el alcance del sufrimiento que debemos soportar. Pero ahora tengo un buen cuerpo humano completamente dotado con las 8 clases de tiempo libre y las 10 circunstancias conducentes a la práctica del Dharma. Este cuerpo, no fácilmente obtenible, una vez obtenido, puede usarse de manera correcta, pues con él puedo trabajar hacia un renacimiento más elevado, el nirvana, o aún el estado de Buda. Además, tengo la buena fortuna de haber encontrado el Dharma, cuya presencia es tan difícil conseguir. Habiendo obtenido estas condiciones tan favorables, si no trabajo para obtener la iluminación completa, sobrepasando el nirvana y libre de todo sufrimiento, y si no trato de obtener esto ahora mismo, en este momento, otra vez tendré que pasar por todos los sufrimientos del samsara en general y específicamente los sufrimientos de los 3 estados inferiores. Por lo tanto, como el poder de protección de todos estos sufrimientos depende de ti y está en tus manos, oh mi gurú, a ti y a las 3 joyas de refugio que visualizo frente a mí, prometo esforzarme por obtener la budeidad ahora, para que pueda beneficiar a todos los seres sintientes madres. Con este propósito, ahora tomo refugio en ti, sagrado gurú, y en las 3 joyas.
Then all together we take refuge 3 times. And remember the visualizations, you can feel the white nectars and rays coming the first time, and then the yellow ones the second 2 times. The first one's purifying, the second one's bringing in blessings.
Tomo refugio en mi gurú, tomo refugio en el Buda, tomo refugio en el Dharma, tomo refugio en la Sangha. Tomo refugio en mi gurú, tomo refugio en el Buda, tomo refugio en el Dharma, tomo refugio en la Sangha. Tomo refugio en mi gurú, tomo refugio en el Buda, tomo refugio en el Dharma, tomo refugio en la Sangha.
Then keep going.
Okay.
So as we say these words, try to make the words mean something to you, so that you're not just saying words, but you're feeling that the words are talking about, okay? We're going to go all the way to the prostrations on Mama Sankappa. That's how we're going to do it. So let's keep going.
Voy por refugio hasta que me ilumine a los Budas, el Dharma y la Asamblea Suprema, que por los méritos y virtudes que acumule mediante la práctica de la generosidad y demás perfecciones, pueda alcanzar el estado de Buda para poder beneficiar a todos los seres sensibles. Voy por refugio hasta que me ilumine a los Budas, el Dharma y la Asamblea Suprema, que por los méritos y virtudes que acumule mediante la práctica de la generosidad y demás perfecciones, pueda alcanzar el estado de Buda para beneficiar a todos los seres sensibles. Voy por refugio hasta que me ilumine a los Budas, el Dharma y la Asamblea Suprema, que por los méritos y virtudes que acumule mediante la práctica de la generosidad y demás perfecciones, pueda alcanzar el estado de Buda para poder beneficiar a todos los seres sensibles. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles pudieran permanecer imparciales, sin predisposiciones, sin tener apegos ni rechazos iracundos, sin sentirse cerca de algunos y distantes de otros, que puedan permanecer siempre así, que pueda yo ser causa de que permanezcan siempre así. Concédanme, por favor, su fortaleza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles pudieran permanecer imparciales, sin predisposiciones, sin tener apegos ni rechazos iracundos, sin sentirse cerca de algunos y distantes de otros, que puedan permanecer siempre así, que pueda yo ser causa de que permanezcan siempre así. Concédanme, por favor, su fortaleza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles pudieran permanecer imparciales, sin predisposiciones, tener apegos ni rechazos iracundos, sin sentirse cerca de algunos y distantes de otros, que puedan permanecer siempre así, que pueda yo ser causa de que permanezcan siempre así. Concédanme, por favor, su fortaleza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles estuvieran dotados de felicidad y de las causas de la felicidad, que siempre la tengan, que sea yo la causa de que la tengan. Concédanme, por favor, su fortaleza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles estuvieran dotados de felicidad y de las causas de la felicidad, que siempre la tengan, que sea yo la causa de que la tengan. Concédanme, por favor, su fortaleza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles estuvieran dotados de felicidad y de las causas de la felicidad, que siempre la tengan, que sea yo la causa de que la tengan. Concédanme, por favor, su fortaleza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles fueran liberados del sufrimiento y de las causas del sufrimiento, que siempre sean libres así, que sea yo causa de esa liberación. Concédanme, por favor, su fuerza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles fueran liberados del sufrimiento y de las causas del sufrimiento, que siempre sean libres así, que sea yo causa de esa liberación. Concédanme, por favor, su fuerza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería si todos los seres sensibles fueran liberados del sufrimiento y de las causas del sufrimiento, que siempre sean libres así, que sea yo causa de esa liberación. Concédanme, por favor, su fuerza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder realizarlo. Qué maravilloso sería que todos los seres sensibles nunca fueran alejados de los renacimientos superiores o de la liberación completa, que nunca sean alejados de estos estados, que yo pueda ser causa de que nunca sean alejados de estos estados. Concédanme, por favor, su fuerza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder lograrlo. Qué maravilloso sería que todos los seres sensibles nunca fueran alejados de los renacimientos superiores o de la liberación completa, que nunca sean alejados de estos estados, que yo pueda ser causa de que sean alejados de estos estados. Concédanme, por favor, su fuerza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder lograrlo. Qué maravilloso sería que todos los seres sensibles nunca fueran alejados de los renacimientos superiores o de la liberación completa, que nunca sean alejados de estos estados, que yo pueda ser causa de que Concédanme, por favor, su fuerza inspiradora, oh divinos y santos gurús, para poder lograrlo.
Keep going. We're going to stop when it says after the prostration verse.
Okay. Oh venerables gurús, con sonrisas blancas de deleites, sentados en tronos de leones, luna y loto, en el espacio frente a mí, pedimos que permanezcan por cientos de eones para que puedan diseminar las enseñanzas y sean el supremo campo de mérito para mi mente fiel. Sus mentes tienen el intelecto que comprende todo lo que puede ser conocido. Sus palabras, con sus explicaciones excelentes, se convierten en adorno para el oído de todos aquellos con buena fortuna. Sus cuerpos son radiantemente hermosos, con gloria reconocida. Me postro ante ustedes, a quienes es valioso apoyar, y escuchar y recordar.
Okay,
Agradables
wait, stop there. Okay. So that's where we do the prostrations, is after we do the prostration verse. It's a good place to do it. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, today we'll do it this way, but it's probably you're right. You mean after which bodhicitta? Okay. Well, we're doing it this way today. But if that's the way Rinpoche said to do it, then... No. This is the way I learned to do it, but it doesn't matter. You should do the way Rinpoche said. I think you told me that before, but I just decided... other people heard that way from Rinpoche? Who else is doing a prostration nundro? Oh, okay. Okay, we'll stop for a minute. How many people here have actual instructions from Nyingje Rinpoche to do nundros, besides Anna? But did he say everyone has to do like 100,000 of each one? Is that you're all doing the same thing? Okay. So probably you should stop and do prostrations where he said. But anyway, so you have, let's just talk about it a bit now. You have prostrations, you have refuge, you have mandalas, Lama Sankappa, Guru Yoga, and Vajrasattva. Any more than that? Just 5. Okay, and where are you supposed to do Vajrasattva in this text? So that might be separate from this, is something separate. So if you were to be doing Vajrasattva, do you have to do this too, or you just do Vajrasattva separately? Alberto knows, maybe. Mm-hmm. And it's right here, the very first, when you do it, when you take refuge? Oh, at the end. The accumulation of refuge comes at the end? Oh, way at the very end. Okay. So you would do the whole text, and then do Vajrasattva there, or mandalas there. And when you do the mandalas, how did he say to do just the short one, or how did he say to do the mandalas?
I think his combination of the long and the short.
Like you do one long and the rest short? But do you have to do refuge each time? Because some lamas say you have to do Sangye Chodan, Sogi Chodamla before every mandala, or you just can do the mandala over again. Okay. Okay. Well, that sounds all right. But who's got something else? Yeah, it has logic. Of course there's more. I think Yangtze Rinpoche made this up.
It's actually a combination of Dorcho and...
Yeah, he wrote this for you guys.
Yeah.
So to me, the logic, when I did my nundros, I did it like that. I would stop there and get up and do the prostrations, because it makes sense, So...
What happened was that he started with everybody doing refuge, and then some people finished refuge,
Mm-hmm.
looking for further instructions on the
Yeah.
mantra. So he said, keep the text,
Yeah.
just have to do the accumulation part.
So then maybe, aside from Anna, the place to do the prostrations would be at the end too? Specifically. Right after we're generating what it... So before the 4 immeasurables. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So, yeah. Thank you, Alberto. And what I understand is you're going to be accumulating the prostrations with the 35 Buddhas. Okay, so... it stays on when you're prostrating? Yeah. Okay, well, the best way is to memorize it. And you can memorize it after a while, and then it stays with you. Like, I memorized it years ago, and it's still with me. Unfortunately, the FPMT has changed the whole translation, but I'm not going to memorize the new one. So, when everyone else is saying something else, I just do the one in my head, So they're always doing that, changing the translations. Well, I think they're just, I don't know, maybe they're neurotic. No, that's not fair. That's a bad joke. No, I think that they're just trying to make it better all the time.
Teachings are flexible.
Yeah, like the Tibetan doesn't change, but they're just trying to get the English translation as pure and as clear as possible. And we have to understand that we're just the first 30 years, so, maybe one day it'll stick. But the problem is, the Gelugpas and the Kagyus and the Nimis, they all need to get together and have a big conference and decide what words are going to be what. Because you study in one tradition, you get this one, you study in another tradition, you get this one, and it's very confusing. They need a standard thing, But I don't think that's going to happen for a long time. And it may never happen, because I think every Lama has his own version. So just like Nyingje Rinpoche is giving you this, I mean, I never saw this before, you know. So it's, I mean, I saw it yesterday in a few days. You know, I mean, I saw it before today, but not before I came here. So, you know, this is his particular way, so you're going to do it his way, right? So I'll just talk a little bit about prostrations, and then I guess we'll do some. But first I want to tell you, you know, because some people have disabilities and they can't do prostrations. And I want to tell you about Aldous Velotis. It's really his name, Aldous Velotis. I think he's from Latvia. And it's like Uldis Balodis. And I have two reasons for telling you about it, because the first one is, in 1986, in January and February of 1986, Lama Zopa Rinpoche gave a commentary on Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. And his students were then doing nundros also. And he gave extensive commentaries on how to do each of the nundros within that. So you could probably get it from Nick Rebush, you know, from the Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive, because Aldous transcribed it and even self-published it in Kathmandu. But that was a long time ago, so I'm sure there's none left. But I would suspect that Nick probably has it in the archives. So it's just a really good teaching on how to do the nundros. And I should have read it before I came here, but I didn't. But I'm just going to tell you what I remember from 20 years ago. Because, you know, when you do 100,000, you sort of remember things, at least the essence. I can just give you the essence. But if you read Lama Zopa, you'd get a lot more. And also it's good since within your nundro is the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, it would be good to read. You know, and he and Nyingje Rinpoche are close, so it's not like it'd be anything different. They're all coming from the same source, because, you know, Nyingje Rinpoche in his previous life was Lama Zopa's guru. And Nyingje Rinpoche grew up in Lama Zopa's monastery, and they're very close. So I think it would be, you know, a good thing for you to get and read and maybe even study as a group. But the second reason I want to tell you about Aldous is he had polio as a child, and he walks with crutches, you know, his legs don't work. And he still did his nundro of prostrations. He supported somebody else to go to Bodh Gaya and do his prostrations. And Lama Zopa said that counts. And so my friend Carolyn Crossman did Aldous' prostrations for him. And she got it too. So they both got the merit, you know, because he supported her to do it. So if you if you really want to do it, you can do it that way. You know, you can support somebody else to do a prostration retreat. I personally never did a prostration retreat, because when I would do more than a few hundred a day, my elbows would I'd get like arthritis, and they would get inflamed. I think it's just because I blocked chi there, you know. I don't think there's anything really wrong with me, but also I think it was my diet at the time. I've realized since I stopped eating sugar, it doesn't hurt so much anymore. It really affects, you know, when you eat sugar, if you have pain, it makes the pain more intense. And I think I was actually allergic to sugar, so I never did a prostration retreat. I'd like to do one now. I'd still have the wish to go to Bodh Gaya and do one in Bodh Gaya, you know. Those of you who've been there, it's so cool. There are all these people, you know. And they say it's pretty amazing, and they get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and there are all these people doing it together, and I have a friend who's done it twice. You know, and you can get a place to stay right by the stupa, and I mean, there's so much merit to do it there. And it's easy because everyone is with you, and the blessings are really powerful, and it's not even that expensive to live in Bodh Gaya. You know, the expense is the plane ticket, but once you get there, I mean, it used to be really cheap, I don't know now, but yeah. So you could put that in your wish list. You guys the whole group could sponsor one person, you know, to go do that or something. I don't think you could all count it. Yeah. 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 So, and I think another thing I want to share with you about prostrations is Lama Zopa told me one time, he just told me like standing next to him, he didn't tell, he just kind of said it. He said, Chaksa Lo. I mean, I'm not a Tibetan scholar, so I don't know if this is really right, but because that's, Chaksa Lo is how you say it in Tibetan. We could ask Tenzin, because Lama Zopa told me that thing prostrate is another one of those bad translations. But it actually means, I want to be like you. That's much better, isn't it? Prostrate sounds really Catholic. I'm bad, I'm guilty. I'm no good. I'm shameful, so I'm going to bow down to you, But really, it's a joyful thing, I want to be like you. So that, so, yeah. So I think that, think about that when you're doing the prostrations. I think it would be helpful. Anyway, they don't use the word prostrate. They use the word bow, And even in India, when you bow to someone, it's not because you feel bad, and it's because you're honoring the Buddha in that person, It's like an honorific thing, It's an honor, So, I mean, I'm not saying we should feel equal to the lamas. Of course we're not. We know we're not. That's no problem. So think about that when you're doing them. Every time you go down, think, oh, I prostrate to the Bhagavan Lord. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, that's the. What's the first one? To the Tathagata, the one gone beyond, the great destroyer, the fully enlightened one, the Buddha Shakyamuni, I prostrate. So you could think, I bow down. Or you could think, I want to be like you. I want to be like you. If you wanted to, or at least think it. And also, when you do a prostration, there's an actual. Lama Zopa Rinpoche is an amazing prostrator. He can actually be a qigong. I'll get up and I'll show you in a minute. It's really good to have a surface to do it on. I mean, because some people do the sliding thing. You've seen the sliding thing, and you can wear out gloves, or you can make a pad that you put, and when you get that, really takes a lot of stomach muscles. So in the beginning, you have to work up to it, but that way you can do them really fast. But for that, you need like a prostration board, or this floor you could slide on. But you definitely need something for your knees. You see the people in Bodhgaya, they have knee pads on. Or you can. For me, these cushions are too soft, but I have a cushion. Or at my house, like I try to do some prostrations every day, and I just have a carpet, and I just do it on my carpet, and I don't slide. I just put my hands down, and that works, We have a carpenter here. He could make prostration boards for people if you wanted a prostration board. It's usually 3, I think they're about like 3 feet wide, so they're like 3 probably 1x12s that you put on 2 boards and just hammer them down. And then you have to put some soft shellac or something that's slidey on the outside, and you see the ones in Bodhgaya, they make these long. They go to the tailors there are ready for them. They know how to make these little. They make these little pillows that are like 5 feet long and this wide, and they have their sliding things, and then they just go down on the. It's not really a pillow. It's just a cushion full of kapok or whatever you call that stuff, and they just go down and come up and go down and come up and go down and come up, and they. And you can do 100,000 in like 3 months. I've known people who did it in 2 months. And even people who are just normal, old, fat people, once they get into it, they get really, Yeah. Yeah, she says it's amazing, the old ladies, 70, 60, when you go to Tibet, you just see them all the time, and Alak, you all know Alak. He prostrated all the way to Lhasa. You know that about him? Yes. Yeah, Rinpoche's attendant, Kirti Senta Rinpoche's attendant. He was in eastern Tibet, and he was a monk, but they didn't have any teachings, He didn't know anything because the Chinese. So he thought, well, the least I can do is that. I know that. So they do this thing, this pilgrimage, where they prostrate and take a step to where they just finished, and prostrate and take a step. It took him, remember how long it took? Like 9 months or something. A long time, maybe, and that's what they do. They get all the way to the Jokong. He did it. And one of my lamas, Geshe Khenrab, the one who taught me this, he said that they would get a couple of sheep, because sheep don't run away, and they have the sheep to carry their stuff. And so the sheep will carry the sampa and the pot to make the tea, because that's all they have is tea and sampa and butter. Or they beg along the way. They're beggars, most of them, because everybody wants to give to the pilgrims, So, so that was, he probably did that in, 1980 or something? It wasn't that long ago he did it. And so that's, I'm not saying you do that, but it is an interesting Tibetan tradition. And I was just reading last night, Veronica had this book called Rainbow Body about Togden, I can't remember his name now. I'm sorry, I didn't really pay attention to his name, I just was reading the story, because it's Tibetan words, unless I really think about it, I don't remember. I was waiting for dinner, so I was like reading fast. And he was one of Namkhai Norbu's teachers. He was this great Dzogchen master, but he did prostration. The thing is, you don't stop. You're not supposed to stop after you do your 100,000. You're supposed to do it your whole life. And Geshe Jumpa Wangdu, who was one of my teachers, he was Lama Yeshe's best friend, and my friend Rob Priest was very close to Geshe Jumpa Wangdu. Because Rob lived in India for I don't know how many years, 7 years or something, and he had the real guru and disciple where he would go to Geshe Jumpa Wangdu and he'd tell him to do the next thing, and so they were very close. And he told Rob to, he said, when I finished 100,000, I just started again, And this Lama, that's why the monks, they all are so muscly, Even Geshe Seppo, he does 400 prostrations every morning. And he's like, how old is he? So it's, yeah. I don't know if he still does, but when I knew him before, he did. And you can see they're healthy, they're strong. Yeah, they get up in the morning, the first thing in the morning. It's a really good thing to do first thing in the morning. You'll never be depressed. No, I'm serious. It's the secret to happiness. Even if you just did 100 every morning. I was trying to get back into the habit myself, because once I stopped, you're traveling and you stop doing it. But it used to be when I was traveling, I had this little routine every morning. I'd get up and I'd do 35 Buddhas and 5 Tibetans. It was every morning. And I stopped a couple years ago, and I haven't started again. I didn't start here either. But maybe, again, I'd like to try, 'Cause it's a really good habit. And then you sit down and meditate, and it's so easy to meditate, because you've just gotten rid of all your lung. You just sit down, and your mind's like, no problem concentrating or anything. So prostrations are really great. And it's good exercise for your whole body. Especially the heart, the upper body. If you keep your upper body strong, you'll never have a heart attack. You don't hear Tibetans dying of heart attacks. They get stomach cancer, from the butter we were talking about. But I never heard of a Tibetan dying of a heart attack. I don't think they have arteriosclerosis, because they're always doing prostrations. It's part of the thing, and it's just a habit. Once you start doing it, it feels good. You just one of those things. It takes about half an hour for me to do 100 prostrations, maybe 20 minutes. You can do 35 prostrations in 10 minutes. We talk on the telephone for half an hour, don't even realize that it's gone by, so 10 minutes isn't very long. And it brings a lot of blessings. There's a book that I loaned to someone and never got back, and it's out of print, but it was called Mahayana Purification by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And I'm sorry that sometimes it's not a good idea to loan books that are no longer in print, but because he gives a whole commentary on the 35 Buddhas, and I have never really seen it anywhere else. It was the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives. Maybe they still have it, I don't know. And he explains very carefully, what each one looks like, by reciting the name, what karma you purify. And if you really wanted to study, you could look for that and figure that out. I mean, I don't remember. I just know that it's really good purification, And it's called Mahayana Purification. And it was the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives, the one in Dharamsala. And there's different ways to visualize the 35 Buddhas. You guys should get a tanka of the 35 Buddhas. Yeah, that's what you do the prostration suit. There's some traditions have them, because 5 times 7 is 35, right? So it's 7 rows, and they're the 5 dhyani Buddhas, like we were talking about. There's Akshobhya, Ratnasambhava, Amitabha, Amoghasiddhi, and Vairocana, and each one is like and I think there is a system where each 7 is related to one of those dhyani Buddhas. But then there's another one where they're all different. And I have a really nice photograph of one of Rob Priest's tankas. I love it. I've had it for years. Maybe I can scan it and send it to you or something. It's already laminated, so sometimes it's hard. But maybe Rob, if I wrote Rob or something, and you could just have it, you could each have one, because I just have a little one like that on my wall. And there's Rob, he's more of a modern tanka painter, and it looks really 3D. It looks like they're not just flat, And they're not in the rows like this, because when you study the commentaries, and like I said, I'm not going to do all that today, but like the first one is here, and then they go around like this, and they're all spread that way. They're all like that. And so, like when I was doing my nundro, I memorized, this one's this one, and I would think that I was prostrated that one, and there's that one is that one. And you can do it if you want to get involved. You can actually learn where they all are in the tanka and what position. Then the southwest is this, and the east is that, like that. And the different layers of the 35 Buddhas, and that makes it. It just makes it more interesting for you. It's not necessary, but. And I'm sure probably if you went online, there might be some commentaries on, and maybe even FPMT has one now. I don't know. But the main thing with the prostrations is the same as with Vajrasattva. These are purification. So you've probably studied the 4 opponent powers. The 4 opponent powers. So refuge, regret, doing the action, and then believing that it's purified, Meditating on emptiness, believing it's purified. And the two, like some people say believing it's purified, some traditions, and other ones saying vowing never to do it again. So I combine the two. I think have faith it's purified, and I'm going to do my best not to do it again. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he's very, very particular. And he says, if it's something that you have a problem and you might do it again, you just say, I vow I'm not going to do it in the next 3 hours. Because you don't want to break your vows. But you can say, I'm going to do my best not to do it. Then you're not breaking anything. That's how I do it, And so before you start the 35 Buddhas, you definitely, you've already taken refuge. But it's really good to stop and think about what it is that you need to purify. And of course, prostrations is related to the body. Things killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, but it does all of them, but that's particular for that. And this Lama that I was reading about last night, I don't know if any of you know about Namkha Norbu. He's a Nyingma Bon Lama, and he teaches this thing called Yantra Yoga, which is very much like Hatha Yoga. Like the stuff that we learn in yoga classes. It's actually a Tibetan system. And he learned it from the guy's book I was reading. And in the book I read, he said that, he would do meditations in the morning, the 4 sessions, But the evening session was all exercise. And he did the Yantra Yoga and the Tsalung, which is the book that you just got. The Tsalung, these are exercises. So I think, Gelugpa Geshis mostly just sit around all the time and don't do a lot. I mean, they do the prostrations, but we don't get so much teachings on the yogas and the exercises. But the yogis do them, the ones who live in the caves, and they do them because, and he said, the more he did it, the better his meditation was. And this particular Lama attained the rainbow body at the end of his life. He got enlightened in that lifetime. And he wasn't a Rinpoche, he was, maybe he was, but it wasn't like he was just a guy in Eastern Tibet, So, I keep emphasizing exercise is part of the program. So prostrations is a good way to start because your lamas ask you to do it. And the way I do it is I have it memorized, and you can either do like 3 prostrations to each 35 Buddha, you can say each 35 Buddha 3 times and do a prostration for each one as you're saying it. So you kind of go at that pace. Or you can do the whole thing 3 times, and that makes 100. That's the way I counted, because I basically, did it 100 at a time, but I got up to the point I think I'd do 300 at a time. But if you do, Om Namo Manjushriye, you do that 3 times, and then you do 3 rounds of the 35 Buddhas, that makes 108. So then you don't have to have a mala and count. You just know that was 100. So if you can do that so many times, know how many you did it, then you can keep count. And I know Yangtze Rinpoche is really strict with you guys, that if you start and you forget, you don't do it one day, you have to start all over again. Now maybe you should check with him, because the way I understood it is that you could actually say the prayer and keep it going if for some reason you can't actually physically do the prostrations. But as long as you recite the 35 Buddhas once, that keeps it going. So maybe check with him to see if that would work. Because sometimes you're sick, or you're on a train, or you're on an airplane, or you can't always do that. But I'll tell you another story. One time I was traveling from Bodh Gaya to Dharamsala with Margaret McAndrews, who's there's so many eccentric nuns, And she's delightful, but she's another one of those, not kind of, not your normal run-of-the-mill person. Really bright, really wonderful lady. But we're on an Indian train, right? First thing in the morning, she gets up in the, this dirty old train with all these Indian people around. She puts her shantab down and does 35 Buddhas on the train. I was like really impressed, She lives at Chenrezig Institute. She's great. She must be 75 by now, She's one of Lama Yeshe's first students. So, so any more questions about prostrations? We'll do the 35 Buddhas, I think. No. But believe me, you start feeling good when you're doing prostrations. It's really, like I said, it's the best cure for depression and anxiety, which we have a lot of these days. So I know some of you can't do them, and we don't really not set up, so we should get up and just move all the chairs back and at least do some, right? We'll do some. Yeah, that's usually how it is. Yeah, I'm going to translate a little bit. I'm going to say something, so just for the first few minutes. Okay, yeah, okay, I'll wait for you. Yeah. Yeah. It is too much. I just wanted to show you how Lama Zopa does a prostration. I mean, I can't do it exactly like Lama Zopa, of course, because he's meditating on emptiness. But Lama Zopa is just, if there was ever an example of the word impeccable, he's really impeccable. And so the thing is, the way you make it, it's hard with, I always find this thing really a drag, But, when you do it the way Rinpoche does it, it actually becomes like a qigong, because you can really feel, you really want to be visualizing and feeling the energy. You're supposed to keep your feet together. You're not supposed to do it like this. And there's a reason why, like you're going to be born a chicken or something. I can't remember, but, it might just be Tibetan superstition. But this is something you could check with Yangtze Rinpoche as well. Yeah, so he always keeps his feet together, and they're kind of like that. But that might be because his feet are like that. I don't know. He's kind of, But what he does, and the way you make it qigong, is when you bring your hands up, when you do qigong, it's like, so you're bringing your hands up. This is why this is a problem. And probably why the Tibetans the monks can't do it this way, but you don't have to worry about that. So you bring your hands up, and it's like you're bringing the chi up from the earth, right? With the inhale. And then remember, we've done this qigong anyway, so then you bring the blessing of the guru into you, right? So you're like bring the blessing of the guru, so then you touch your 3 places, your 4 places actually, the chakras, right? And then you go down. But as you go down, if you really want to make it exercise, when you get better at it, you don't have to bend your legs. You can stretch, so it's like a yoga stretch, so you're going down stretching. I can't do it now because I haven't been doing yoga. I've been really lazy here. No, I'm not. I'm resting. And so then, you can bend your knees, but it's like if you go over, at least you can kind of bend your back in a nice way that you're actually getting a bit of a yoga bend, So you really let everything kind of relax as you go down. And then you touch, right? And you go down. And then you go to the next one. And then you and then, you can get, it's like a little push-up, you kind of push up, down. Like it's yoga. It's like the sun salutation. Most of you have done the sun salutation. Huh? Yes, exactly. And then but this is the part I want you to watch. So now you have to get back up. Yeah, I want you to watch. Yeah. So, yeah, because when Rinpoche is here, sorry, that's me. When Rinpoche is here, he doesn't just relax on the floor. Maybe you don't need this. He doesn't. Oh no, he needs this. He doesn't just relax on the floor. Like, I'm down, He doesn't just relax on the floor. His whole body is still working. That's why it's exercise. What he does, it's like the other, there's a yoga posture where you go like this. The one where you're like this? So when Rinpoche is prostrating, he's doing that. He's stretching his legs out behind him. I've seen him. His legs are slightly off the ground. His whole body is stretched, and he's stretching forward, and his head is hardly touching. So he's actually doing yoga when he's here. He's like that. So it's all stretching out like that. And then he comes up. You come up the normal old way. And then you come up, and again, you bring in the blessings in the crown of your head. So you can see that prostrations can actually be a full yoga practice where you're getting your chi really moving. And the thing that I think is really good about that, especially when you're down on the ground and stretching your legs back, is that particular, I don't remember the name, I never remember the yoga names, but if maybe somebody knows that posture. But yeah, it is, the locus, you're right. I studied this thing called acupressure, yoga, what was it? Acu-yoga. And it was talking about the crossover between yoga and like shiatsu and acupuncture. It's a book you can get by a guy named Michael Gatch. And that particular yoga posture is really good for your spleen. And this is why I think, I want to tell you why it's important, because when you do a lot of meditation, your spleen gets very tired. The spleen meridian. It's not just your spleen, Do you have the word for that? You're a really good translator then. Yeah. So your spleen gets the spleen energy. The spleen energy in Chinese medicine is it's important, and in that it's important for your digestion and lots of blood and regulation and stuff. But what happens is when we think a lot, when we're concentrating a lot, when we're contemplating, when we're memorizing, when we're studying, it burns up your spleen energy. So when we worry, spleen, like if you worry a lot, it's usually, it could be because your spleen's weak. It's not necessarily because you have something to worry about, but it's, your obsessive thinking is related to weak spleen. So the reason I want to show you that is because my experience in doing long retreats, you really burn out your spleen energy because you're concentrating, you're trying to do stuff. So that's another reason the prostrations are so important, is because you build up, you keep that, especially if you stretch your legs out like that, you keep your spleen energy strong. And that's why, there's a lot more to prostrations than you think. It's actually a whole big deal. And of course, by keeping your arms strong, you're keeping your heart strong. And since we're doing so much work with our heart, and in Chinese medicine, the heart is the seat of joy. So that's why if you do prostrations, you're not depressed, because you're constantly pumping up your heart and your large intestine energy, so it helps your digestion, helps your state of mind. So prostrations, and anxiety is like worry. So, prostrations cure anxiety, worry, and depression. So it's, they're great, It's not just some Tibetan strange thing, that we're having to take on faith because I'm going to purify this. There's actually a real reason to do prostrations. And I guarantee you, when you start doing them, that's the answer, exercise. You'll start feeling better, and you'll see that if people are like pre-diabetic, or they're beginning to get high blood pressure, or all the kind of things that we start doing when we get to be 45. If you do prostrations, you won't get those things. So I'm like selling, yay, prostrations. I'm convincing myself too, So is that clear? Claro? Yeah. Okay, so now we'll do the 35 group.
Visualicen los 35 Budas en el espacio frente a ustedes. Tienes a Buda Shakyamuni al frente. Y debajo de él hay 7 filas de Budas. ¿De cuánto? Ya tomaron refugio, así que tomen un minutito para repasar, arrepentirse de cualquier transgresión. Y tener fe que haciendo las postraciones vas a purificar eso. Manju Shri Namo Sushri Namo Uttamashi Sono. Om Namo Manju Shri Namo Sushri Namo Uttamashi Sono. Manju Shri Namo Sushri Namo Uttamashi Sono. Okay. Homenaje al fundador Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, completamente perfecto Buda, glorioso conquistador Shakyamuni. Homenaje Tathagata consumado destructor con esencia Vajra. It's homage. We can say I prostrate instead of. We're saying homage. It's saying homage. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Homenaje al Tathagata joya radiante. Homenaje al Tathagata, rey de los señores Naga. Homenaje al Tathagata, líder de guerreros. Homenaje al Tathagata, héroe encantado. Homenaje al Tathagata, joya de fuego. Homenaje al Tathagata, joya luz de luna. Homenaje al Tathagata, significativo de ver. Homenaje a Tathagata, joya luna. Homenaje al Tathagata, inmaculado. Homenaje al Tathagata, dador de valentía. Homenaje al Tathagata, el puro. Homenaje al Tathagata otorgador de pureza. Homenaje al Tathagata Dios agua. Homenaje al Tathagata deidad del Dios agua. Homenaje al Tathagata bien glorioso. Homenaje al Tathagata glorioso sándalo. Homenaje al Tathagata esplendor infinito. Homenaje al Tathagata luz gloriosa. Homenaje al Tathagata gloria sin tristeza. Homenaje al Tathagata hijos del sin deseo. Homenaje al Tathagata gloriosa flor. Homenaje al Tathagata juego de luz pura de conocimiento directo. Homenaje al Tathagata juego de rayos de luz de loto de conocimiento directo. Homenaje al Tathagata riqueza gloriosa. Homenaje al Tathagata conciencia gloriosa. Homenaje al Tathagata bien reconocido glorioso nombre. Homenaje al Tathagata Rey que sostiene la bandera de la victoria sobre los sentidos. Homenaje al Tathagata gloria totalmente subyugante. Homenaje al Tathagata totalmente victorioso en la batalla. Homenaje al Tathagata gloriosa trascendencia al subyugar. Homenaje al Tathagata gloriosas manifestaciones iluminando todo. Homenaje al Tathagata completamente subyugadora joya de loto. Homenaje al Tathagata Arhat, completamente perfecto Buda, Rey de los señores de las montañas, firmemente sentado en joya y luna. That's the last one. Which one three times? Ah, okay. Homenaje al Tathagata Arhat, completamente perfecto Buda, Rey de los señores de las montañas, firmemente sentado en joya y luna. Homenaje al Tathagata Arhat, completamente perfecto Buda, Rey de los señores de las montañas, firmemente sentado en joya y luna. Okay. Should I do it faster or the confession? Normal. Ok, así que las personas que puedan y quieran seguir haciendo las postraciones pueden hacerlas mientras yo leo la oración de las confesiones al final. Así que los que quieran pues pueden continuar. Todos ustedes, 35 Budas y otros, tantos como los Tathagatas Arhats, completamente perfectos Budas, que existen sosteniendo y viviendo en las 10 direcciones de los mundos de los seres sensibles. Todos los Budas Bhagavans, por favor, présteme atención. Desde vida sin principio en el samsara, en esta vida, en mi vida previa y en todos los reinos de renacimiento samsárico, cualquier karma negativo que haya creado, causado a otros a crearlo, o del que me haya alegrado, tal como tomar posesión de estupas del sangha egoístamente, o de la sangha de las 10 direcciones, causando a otros a tomarlas o regocijándome en que otros la tomaran, habiendo creado las 5 acciones extremas, negativas, causando a otros que las crearan, o regocijándome en que otros las crearan, encaminándome en el camino de las 10 acciones malignas, causando a otros realizarlas, o regocijándome de que otros las realizaran. Me ha causado, al oscurecerme, el nacer en los infiernos, en lugares de animales, en los reinos de los pretas, en países no religiosos como bárbaro, como Dios de larga vida, con órganos imperfectos, con visiones erróneas, o sin el deleite de la descendencia del Buda. En la presencia de los Budas Bhagavan, que son sabiduría exaltada, que conocen toda la existencia, que son ojos compasivos mirando a todos los seres sensibles todo el tiempo, que son testigos, son válidos y que ven con mente omnisciente. Yo admito todas estas negatividades, las acepto como negativas, no las mantendré en secreto sin confesarlas, no las esconderé y desde ahora en adelante las eliminaré y me abstendré de crear estas acciones negativas. Todos los Budas Bhagavans, por favor, escúchenme. Desde vida sin principio, en el samsara, en esta vida, en mi vida previa y en todos los reinos samsáricos de renacimiento, cualquier virtud que he creado con tan solo acciones pequeñas, con dar migajas de comida a algún ser nacido en el reino animal, cualquier raíz de virtud que haya creado al mantener los preceptos, cualquier raíz de virtud que haya creado por conducta virtuosa, cualquier raíz de virtud que haya creado por madurar las mentes de otros completamente, cualquier raíz que haya creado al general bodhicitta y cualquier raíz de virtud de exaltada sabiduría que haya creado, todas reunidas, recogidas y luego combinadas, juntas, las dedico a la no sobrepasada, a la más excelente, más alta que lo alto, superior a lo superior. Por esta razón la dedico completamente a la no sobrepasada y perfecta iluminación. No obstante que los Budas Bhagavan previos hayan dedicado, no obstante que el aún no descendido Buda Bhagavan lo dedique, y no obstante los presentes Budas Bhagavan lo dediquen, así yo también dedico completamente. Confieso el karma negativo individualmente, me regocijo en el mérito, suplico a los Budas que concedan mi súplica, que pueda obtener la excelencia suprema sin límites, la sabiduría exaltada. A los reyes sublimes de los seres humanos, aquellos que viven en el presente, los que han vivido en el pasado y los que no han descendido, a todos los que poseen el conocimiento tan vasto como el océano infinito, con manos enlazadas voy por refugio. Alberto va a traducir, así que pónganse los audífonos.
So then we visualize, also I'll just say that this isn't Nyingje Rinpoche style, but what Lama Zopa does, he also visualizes the 7 medicine Buddhas and you recite their names too. But you visualize that the medicine Buddhas, row by row, dissolve up into the figure of Buddha Shakyamuni. And then from the Buddha Shakyamuni's brow chakra, white nectars and rays go into our brow chakras and that of all sentient beings. And I didn't tell you, but when you're prostrating, another really good thing to do is to imagine that all other beings are prostrating with you, and all your past lives are prostrating with you. So you're really purifying all of them too. So the nectars and rays are going into my own brow chakra and that of all my past lives and all sentient beings, purifying all the ignorant actions created that, like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, any harm, physical harm. And then we think it's completely purified. Our bodies are filled with white light. And we rejoice that we have this opportunity to purify. Think about the future experiences that are bound to happen, that aren't going to happen anymore, and just rejoice. You know, we're able to wipe those seeds off our mental, subtle mind. You know. And then the red nectars and rays come from the throat chakra of the Buddha into our throat, purifying all the ignorant actions that caused harm with our speech, particularly lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle speech, just talking about, you know, just talk because it's fun, you know, nothing meaningless speech. And feel my body and all the other bodies full, purified with the red light. And rejoicing. And then the dark blue nectars and rays pouring into the heart, whom at the heart, purifying all of our mental afflictions, emotional afflictions, mental afflictions such as ignorance, hatred, greed, pride, jealousy, deluded doubt, self-cherishing, particularly grasping of the I, true existence, that of myself and all sentient beings. Rejoicing. And then all three together, white, red, and dark blue, pouring in, purifying any subtle grasping, obscurations left. No traces of delusions. Again, rejoicing. And then the Buddha becomes very, very small, dissolving into the subtle wind and mind of the Buddha's heart, the size of a mustard seed, but very, very like laser light, like very bright, the power of the three bodies of the Buddha. And this comes to the crown of our heads and sits at the center of our, melting with our subtle wind and mind at the center of the heart chakra. And from there, the light rays go out, and we imagine that all the beings around us, our all sentient beings in our past lives, are all transformed into Buddhas, golden Buddhas. And these then dissolve back into us. And we experience the union of inseparable bliss and emptiness. So we take a minute to think about the I. And we can think, what am I doing? I am standing here. And why am I standing here? Because this body and mind is standing here, and upon this is placed the label, I am standing here. Other than this merely labeled I, there is no other I existing. And then we remember any particular bad habits that we'd like to change. And think, from now on, today I'm not going to do whatever, blah, 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 I think our worst one, besides our mind, is our speech, Try to watch our speech. And then we can dedicate the merits. But I guess we have to go back and sit down. So, but before I forget, the reason I brought up this Togden is a great, just word for great yogi, is because he would wear out prostration boards. Like he says, I wore out this prostration board, I had to go get another one, He said that a few times in his life story. So that's a lot of frustration. Maybe they have soft wood in Tibet. Should we take a break? Do you want to keep going till 12, or do you want to take a break? Okay. Oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I think a few people do. So we'll take just a quick bathroom break and come back, okay?